Welcome to the Parenting Lab podcast. I'm your parent coach, Brittany, and I am here to guide you into the calm, clarity, and connection you're looking for as you transform your parenting from the inside out. Let's get started.
Welcome. I am so excited to be back with you today. Thank you so much for those of you who listened to my first episode and gave it a review. That means so much to have your support, so thank you, thank you. Today, we are tackling a really foundational principle of parenting, and honestly, I hope you can listen with an open mind and an open heart today, because this stuff really applies to every single aspect of your life. It's relationships, leadership, success, everything. So today we're talking about change versus transformation. As parents, we all know that this journey is filled with challenges and moments of self-reflection, and let's face it, it's just a lot of changes. Nothing in parenting stays the same for long. Just as we get our footing in one stage, another one comes barreling along, and a lot of times we're juggling the different needs and developmental stages of sometimes many people at once, right? But what happens when we want those changes to go beyond just surface level shifts? How do we move from simply changing our behavior, like the day-to-day survival stuff, our reactions and routines, to truly transforming our parenting mindset and approach? In this episode, we're going to explore those key differences between change and transformation, why change just isn't enough, and why transformation is essential if you want to alter the patterns, the status quo, the actual fabric of your family, and most importantly, your emotional landscape. So let's get into it. Let's start by defining what we mean by change and transformation in the context of parenting. Change, in its simplest form, is about doing something differently. It can be as small as changing the way you handle bedtime or using a different approach when your child is having a meltdown. We get these ideas in our heads of how things can be done maybe better, right? This is the goal-oriented part of our brains that focuses on skill building and innovation, and this idea that if X isn't working, then I can just do Y and the problem will be solved. This is what we find at the end of the day when we finally get the kids to sleep and we're scrolling through TikTok, or when we're hiding in the bathroom Googling, how do I get my kids to listen when they scream outside the door? The internet is full of quick fix changes that will make your life easier, your house cleaner, your kids more compliant. You know what I'm talking about, right? These are changes that can make a big difference in the moment, but often they don't really go much deeper than that. And honestly, if I'm being fully accountable for my actions as a mom when my kids were younger, these changes were almost never sustainable because the goal was always centered in control. Either control of my own perceived weaknesses and failures, like I will wake up and exercise, or I will not yell today, or I would be trying to control my kids' behaviors and their actions. They will sit quietly through church, or they will not talk back to me. I would invest so much in changing this how, like air quotes, how of my parenting, that I never took time to really figure out why nothing was working. And despite all the changes I was making, nothing ever changed. Transformation, on the other hand, is something so much deeper. It's like this profound shift in your mindset and your values and your perspective all at once. It's not about goals or being results-oriented, like having a clean room or a complete chore chart, although I'm sure your chore chart is really awesome. I know mine was. So it's not goal-oriented, it's process-oriented, okay? So what does that mean? Process orientation is all about the journey and the destination. Transformation is altering not only how we see our children, how we respond to situations, how we approach our own growth as individuals. It's the why. Why do we see our children this way? Why do we react the way we do? Why am I triggered or bothered or threatened or insecure or ragey or overstimulated or resentful or even bored? These feelings don't come out of nowhere, and all of the routines and Instagram hacks and color-coded schedules aren't going to give us what we really, really want. So why do we have these feelings? Where do they come from? And how do we move through them without causing damage? Without causing more damage sometimes, right? It's not just about what we do, but why we do it, and about who we are becoming in the process. When we look at parenting, transformation means that our entire way of interacting with our children shifts. It goes beyond changing our reactions. It's about rethinking our approach to discipline and connection and communication at our most core level. So now that we have some definitions out of the way, why is this so important in our parenting? Well, let's talk about this cycle of goal-oriented change. Let's look at an example. If you have a goal in mind of your child keeping their room clean, you might come up with a new idea of how to get them to do that. My guess is that it's going to have some kind of a reward attached to it. If you keep it clean for a week, I'll take you to get ice cream. There's also going to be some kind of a punishment, right? Not only will they miss out on ice cream, but maybe they'll be grounded or have their toys taken away. At first, this might actually be working. You help them get things cleaned up so they have a fresh start, and Monday and Tuesday are looking pretty good. You're pretty confident that you found the right solution and you are loving this for you. Then Wednesday comes around, things are starting to pile up, and you start to threaten those consequences. Hello, don't you want ice cream? By the weekend, the room is a mess. You're yelling and fighting, and your kid is screaming like they never even liked ice cream in the first place. Then you start catastrophizing the whole situation. Your kid is a slob. Where did you go wrong? They're never going to learn how to clean. Their roommates are going to hate them. They'll never be organized enough to get through college. Who is going to marry them when they live like a slob? And all of a sudden, your kid is a failure. You're a failure. And freaking no one is eating ice cream. Okay, that got a little extreme. But you can see my point, hopefully. This is a pattern. Trying to change behavior never quite reaches the level of transformation, right? On the surface, this new chore chart, this new system, this new routine, it might seem like a great idea. But if you're still carrying unresolved frustrations or beliefs about your child's behavior, or unhealed wounds from when you were a child, you might unintentionally slip back into these old ways of punishment and control and yelling. That's change. So if you've ever found yourself stuck in this cycle of temporary fixes and then circling back to these same old reactions to your child's behavior, you know that change alone doesn't always work. You might be trying all the new things, but if your underlying beliefs or emotional responses haven't shifted, those changes will only ever be short-term. And they're going to require a ton of conscious effort to keep up on them. Managing so many fixes is exhausting. Fake it till you make it doesn't always work. Sometimes it feels like, and this is one of my favorite things to say, show up till you blow up. It's exhausting. So anyway, when you start to experience this real transformation as a parent, you start to approach your child's behavior with a deeper understanding of their needs and your needs and the emotional connections that are happening between the two of you. This shift in mindset is what allows you to create long-lasting and meaningful change. Transformation is really just that. It's sustainable change, because it's not just about changing the what, but transforming the why behind our actions. So going back to the example of the clean room, you start to ask the deeper questions to try and understand the real problem before you chase after the solutions. Why is my child struggling with keeping their room clean? Why does it bother me so much? What meaning am I assigning to this mess or to their resistance? Or what labels am I assigning to my child? If we can look inside our own minds and experiences, we might just start to uncover some past associations or underlying insecurities, or maybe even some wounds that connect to this problem that now we're trying to solve. So the question now is, how do we begin this process of transformation as parents? How do we train our minds to move out of goal-oriented change and into process-oriented transformative parenting? To help you with this, I want to offer you a 5-step framework that can set you on this path. So we're going to go through this framework together. Step number 1, self-awareness. Transformation begins with understanding yourself. I want you to take just a moment and reflect on your parenting. Okay, you can do this now. You can honestly do this often. Ask yourself the hard questions. How do you parent? Are you just doing what your parents did? Are you trying to fit a certain mold or an ideal of what you think a good mom or dad is supposed to be? Why do you do what you do? What past experiences or beliefs about parenting are influencing the way that you're acting today? Are there patterns that you find yourself repeating? What are your triggers? The more aware you are of your own emotions and reactions, the more space that you can create for this transformation to happen. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, shift your mindset. It is so easy to fall into the trap of trying to control or change your children. But guys, true transformation in parenting begins with seeing your child as a whole person. A whole person. Someone with their own needs and their own thoughts and their own feelings. That's not something that you grow into. You don't grow into being a human. We're born this way, you guys, and our kids have all of the same needs and thoughts and feelings that you do. They just don't know how to communicate them all the time. So try to shift from fixing their behavior to really understanding the deeper emotional stuff that's going on beneath their actions. This shift, if you can just change this one thing, even if it's a single degree away from where you are right now, this is what will allow you to feel so much more connection and empathy and compassion in your parenting. So I want to go back to the clean room scenario for just a second with this one. This example is easy for me to go to because it's something that we struggled with my daughter for a long, long time. To offer some context, I was raised in a home where cleanliness was highly valued and prioritized. So there were a lot of consequences attached to having a clean room. And more than once, my stuff was taken out in garbage bags. It was the 80s. I think that happened a lot back then. But the message that I internalized was that if I was going to have worth and value, being clean was a necessary qualification. So as an adult raising my own kids, I had a hard time separating that internal belief system from what was actually right for my daughter and the way that she needed to be parented and motivated and nurtured in her own learning, right? It wasn't until she was a teenager that I finally learned enough about brain development and motivation and emotional intelligence that I finally understood that her messy room was actually a symptom of her freeze response. She was dealing with so much stuff that I hadn't taken the time to notice because I was so focused on her laundry. So I learned, we implemented some new things, and we worked together to clear her mind and heal her hurts and really connect and strengthen our relationship. And over time, she no longer wanted to live in that kind of space, not because she was scared of what I was going to do to her, but because the problem kind of solved itself. When I stopped focusing on the goal and started focusing on the process, right? She was able to clear her mind and do it because she wanted to do it. If your kids are little, maybe they're not in a place developmentally that they can clean a room without help. Maybe I don't know, if they're older, maybe there's some underlying issues that are the real root of the problem. But without shifting this perspective and the angle that you're viewing it from, you will miss out on some of the really essential moments of connection with your kids. I know that happened in my family with my daughter. The clean room started out as a point of conflict, and it became something that really connected us because we were able to see each other on such a deeper level to understand where we were coming from, why it was important to me for her room to be clean, but also why it was important for her to have her own space and keep it the way that she wants to keep it. So this actually leads into our next step, which is number 3, learn to look deeper. Dr. Karen Purvis said, and this is one of my absolute favorite quotes about parenting, is that behavior is the language of unmet needs. If you or your child is struggling to manage any behavior, whether it's a clean room or yelling or fighting with siblings, overeating, whatever it is, there is something driving that behavior that is going unfulfilled. Let's say that your child has a tendency to throw tantrums when they don't get their way. And don't think this is just about 2-year-olds, you guys. Teenagers throw tantrums too. My husband throws tantrums. Like, we all do it in our own way. But if we're talking about a child throwing a tantrum, a quick change might be to implement a new timeout strategy or offer a reward system when they stay calm. Maybe a sticker chart or a treat at the grocery store, right? This change might work in the short term. But without digging deeper, you may find yourself resorting to the same strategies over and over again, or your child might start testing those boundaries more. But imagine if you began to explore these underlying needs that your child is having. What if you removed your own prideful investment in the situation and considered that maybe this is not about you at all? They're not trying to hurt you or make you mad. They don't want you to yell or punish them or ignore them even. Maybe they're feeling unheard. Maybe they're overstimulated or anxious. Maybe they're carrying a heavy mental load. Maybe they're tired or hungry, or maybe their shoes are too small. Maybe they just don't want to do it alone without your support. When you dig deeper, you shift your focus away from punishment or behavior management or discipline or yourself to understanding and responding to your child's physical and emotional world. And that is the real game changer. If you can learn to do this, to dig deeper, I promise you, there is not one single parenting scenario that you won't be able to manage. Curfew, tantrums, talking back, fighting, literally everything we do, everything our kids do can be traced back to an unmet need. Every single one. If you don't believe me, I am challenging you right now to apply this the next time something comes up that challenges you. Then I want you to come back to this episode or send me an email, leave a comment, and tell me what you discover. This right here, you guys, is huge. This is huge. It changes everything. Step number 4 is have compassion for yourself. This process of transformation isn't easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. Give yourself grace. Understand that parenting is a lifelong journey of growth. There's no deadlines here. There will be times when you feel frustrated or slip into old habits, and that's okay. This is about progress, not perfection. I want you to be kind to yourself and practice self-compassion as you move through this process. In my coaching certification, this was referred to as a pace of permission. Oh, I love that so much. A pace of permission. So give yourself this permission to go slow, to sit with yourself through the tough feelings and the realizations that change everything. This is hard work, but I want you to love yourself for trying, okay? Step number 5 is patience and consistency. Change can feel quick, but transformation requires patience and consistency. It's not about trying something new for a week and expecting to see everything fall into place. Transformation happens in the small, everyday moments when you show up with intention, awareness, and love, even on the hardest days. Sometimes it's hard to see how far you've come, but keep going. I promise that it's worth it. Okay, I've given you a lot today. So to recap, Change is often necessary but temporary, and transformation is the key to long-lasting and meaningful shifts in your parenting. Almost every time I talk to a new client as a parent coach or a life coach, what they want is change, but what they need is transformation. That's what they'll come to me for. They'll want all of these answers. They want to fix their kids. They want their kids to stop doing this or stop doing that. That's change. But what they need and what they leave with is transformation. And that is why this framework is so important. Self-awareness, shifting mindset, digging deeper, self-compassion, patience, and consistency. If we can learn to do that, even when it's uncomfortable, we can move beyond these temporary fixes and begin to experience a deeper and more connected way of parenting. If this speaks to you and inspires you to action, I hope you'll lean into that. Transformation is possible and so worth the effort. If you find this episode helpful, please leave a review and share it with other parents who might benefit. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you'll join me again next week as we explore the art and science of parenting and put your parenting to the test. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Parenting Lab podcast. For our complete catalog of online courses, free resources, or to join our mailing list, please visit theparentinglab.org. See you next time.